What's up, Ambitchious? What's up? Happy Monday. A week before Mercury goes retrograde, and that's what we're going to be chit-chatting about tonight. Let me just let a few more people in. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Ambitchious Academy. As you guys come on, just post in the chat, say, hey, where are you from? What's your name? Because some of you guys have like crazy names on your Zoom. I don't know who some of you are. So just tell me your Christian name. I had a woman last week who kept coming up as Mommy's iPhone. And I said, I can't call this lady Mommy's iPhone. I don't even think she knew, though, that she had it on Mommy's iPhone. So I think that Leanne will be changing that very quickly after last week. So as you guys come on, just come on and say who you are, where you're from. Oh, I love seeing this. This is so exciting. And just saying, hey, and getting the energy going today. Okay. So tonight's HBIC call, head bitchin' charge, obviously, is all about Mercury in retrograde. So it's going to be an all over Mercury retrograde talk because so many people inbox me. They're like, what is this Mercury in retrograde situation? Why do I have to protect myself? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? How to use the energies, etc. But I'm also going to talk a little bit also about Mercury in retrograde this time around. Because we're starting in Aquarius and it's going direct in Capricorn. You guys will understand what that means by the end of this call tonight. And feel free while we're chit-chatting to just ask any questions that you want in the chat, because I always come back to the chat every so often, check it and answer questions. So holla, yes, I love seeing everybody from all over the country. All over the world, actually. We have women from Australia. We have women from South Africa, from Scotland, from Korea, from South Korea, all here on the Ambitchious Academy. So this is like super, super, super exciting. Okay, so if you can, let's just ground ourselves down. Let's call in our power posse to make sure that this call is absolutely amazing tonight. So if you're not driving and you can, let's all close our eyes and just bring our hands into prayer posture at heart center. And let's take 3 deep cleansing breaths all together. So let's go ahead, close our eyes, bring our hands into heart center, and let's take 3 breaths all together. Go ahead and inhale in through your nose, filling up your lungs. If you're seated in a chair, make sure your feet are touching the ground for now so you can really ground down into your power, into your root. Exhaling all the way out through the mouth, letting go of anything that is holding us down, no longer serving our highest, greatest good. Let's take another deep breath, inhaling in through our noses, filling up our lungs, just releasing everything that is just weighing you down, is weighing on your mind, is keeping you from stepping into your power. Just let it all go with that breath. And last breath here, inhaling in through the nose, filling up those lungs. Exhaling all the way out. And keeping your eyes closed. I'm just going to call in our power posse. God, Goddess, universal life force energy, all of our guardians and our guides and our angels and our loved ones who are no longer here on this 3-dimensional earth plane, and all of our ancestors who came here before us, who paid it forward so that we may live life ambitiously. Surround us all, wrap us in a bubble of protection, and come into our vessels and fill us with your wisdom and your love and your healing and your evolution. And I thank you, each and every one of you, in advance. And so it is. Yes, love it. Open your eyes. Yes. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. Mercury retrograde. What the hell is it? One of the girls in Ambitchious Academy kept being like, what's going on with this moon and Mercury? I'm like, no, girl. It's Mercury in retrograde. So the actual planet itself, okay? So the planet Mercury, it actually doesn't move backwards. So like the big old planet's not like, I've been on this evolution for the last, bagillion years, I think I'm just going to stop what I'm doing and go backwards. No, it's an optical illusion. I'm a wicked nerd. You will find me on most clear nights laying on the grass with my stargazing app and like looking at where all the constellations are and where all of the planets are. I'm like that nerd. I should have probably paid a little bit better attention in school. I would have been a better student, but now it's like, I'm into all this stuff when I should have made sure I was into it back then, but hey, whatever. I don't like to be told what to do by anybody, as you guys know that. So if you're a stargazer like me, you will see that Mercury actually appears to move backwards, right? And this has been going on, and this has been documented by ancient astrologers from thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. So Mercury goes retrograde 3 to 4 times a year. And the planet actually will look as it's reversing backwards, and then it will station back direct. Okay. And we're going to talk all about this today. You guys are going to like be the biggest star nerds ever when you get off this call. And because Mercury, the planet itself, is situated closest to the sun, its orbit is much shorter than Earth's. So about, like I said, 3 to 4 times a year, Mercury actually speeds past Earth. And that is when we experience what we call Mercury retrograde. So think about it. And I took some notes today. So if I keep looking down, it's not that I'm not paying attention to you. I want to stay on point because, you know, I can get off track and I just start swearing and saying inappropriate stuff. So I want to stick to my notes and not get off the chain with that. But think about this. This is the best way to think about it. If you were in a car and another car passed you, right, you could tell that it was going faster than you. But if you slowed down and you then passed it, it would appear that the car was actually going backwards. Have you ever had that like optical illusion where like the car like stops, you're like, whoa, my God, am I rolling backwards? I don't know if I'm like the only bum that happens to all the time. Like I'm like, ah, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I need a Xanax. I'm a little too excited right now, right? So that's actually the same energy, right? So enough about the nerdy stuff about Mercury retrograde. Let's get into the real nitty gritty. Okay. So during Mercury retrograde, we are called to stop and we are called to fully be present with where we are. And Mercury this year, actually, it's kind of crazy because Mercury goes retrograde 4 times this year. So it goes retrograde from the 14th of January to the 2nd of February. So what I do is when I get because I have like an old lady planner. Am I like the only one that doesn't put their planner in their phone? Like I literally have an old lady planner and I'm like obsessed with it. It's like literally an at a glance planner. And I'm like writing all my doctor's appointments, when I take my pills, you know, like all that shit. Right. But this year it goes retrograde 4 times. So what I do is I get my old school paper planner. Every year I sit during like the holidays when everyone's beating the shit out of each other to get a Cabbage Patch for their kid. I'm with my old lady planner and I'm planning out, you know that you were one of those moms when my mom beat a lot of bitches up for a Cabbage Patch. Let me tell you, Xavier Roberts, thank you. I appreciate you more than you know. So when everyone's beating the shit out of each other for Cabbage Patches, I have my old lady planner and I look at, okay, when is Mercury retrograde? I post it all in my planner. I write it in like a bright color so that I know when Mercury is retrograde, that I know like, okay, a week before Mercury retrograde is when Mercury retrograde goes into this pre-shadow. And this is when it goes direct. And this is when I can, you know, sign contracts. This is when I can make big plans and we're going to get really deep into that tonight. But I suggest that if you do have something to take notes with right now, you write this down. So January 14th to the 3rd of February, and it starts in Aquarius and it ends in Capricorn. Don't worry about what that means yet. I'm going to explain it to you down the road. Then our second Mercury retrograde is May 10th to June 2nd. It starts in Gemini and it leaves in Taurus. The third Mercury retrograde is actually September 9th, and it starts in Libra and it goes out in Virgo on 10/2, so October 2nd. And our last Mercury retrograde, our 4th Mercury of the year, is actually later in the year, and it is December 29th, and it goes into 2023, and we leave Mercury stations direct. the 18th of January, and it's in Capricorn in both signs. So it goes in and it leaves and it goes direct both in the sign of Capricorn, right? So Mercury is also a time to really take a consensus of who are we showing up as every day? How are we going inward to truly find out what's no longer serving our highest, greatest good and our highest self? So like, for example, I have businesses and I teach a lot of business coaching. And a lot of girls will come to me and they'll talk to me about social media. And I'm like, stop trying to show up on social as someone that you're not. Just have fun. If you guys are on Instagram, for example, you guys know, like, you see my reels. I put on crazy wigs. I wear weird glasses because I love theater. I am a thespian. I like to create. So for me, like, I just do that. It's fun for me. And the people that like watch it and they're like, this bitch is crazy. Guess what? They're not my people. But the people that watch my reels and they're like, oh my God, this bitch is funny. I'm going to do her Ambitchious Academy. I attract the right people because it's a vibrational frequency. So I'm always showing up as Katie motherfucking Boyd. You guys know that about me. You guys, if you really truly know me, like, I don't bend and cave like a cheap tent for no one, right? Like, I just don't. It's just not what, and I never will, and I never have. Right. But a lot of us, we're playing all these different roles, right? We're trying to be all these things to all these different people. And it's like, at the end of the day, is it really serving our highest, greatest good? Does it feel authentic to you? Kim Fox, my online business manager, is going to be doing a whole entire lesson on Sunday, the 16th, all about this. How to show up in your content, whether it's social media or if you have a blog or a website or just in general, without selling your soul. Because so many of us, the reason why we don't like to go on social media is because it's fake and it's phony and it's inauthentic. So this is a really great time to say, like, how am I showing up? And like, am I being my true self? It also, during Mercury retrograde, it also helps us to really take the time to really get truthful and honest with ourselves. What are we running from? Why do we continue to have fear, right? Why are we living a fear-based, mediocre life? Because I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't care what you believe in religiously, but whoever created us wasn't like, I really want everyone to be abundant and live their best life. But you know what? That Lisa, she doesn't deserve it. She deserves to be mediocre and inauthentic and just do shit that she doesn't want to do and be a people pleaser and just like take it up the bum with no lube. No, we are all have an even playing field. It's us and our limiting beliefs that keep us small, right? So some really important questions to ask yourself during this Mercury retrograde. And we're going to do a guided meditation and some journaling today at the end of. We got someone that got a hold of the mute button. So Katie's going to DJ this. All right. All right, Shannon Hebe. She's like, get out of here. Oh my God. So remember, we're going to do some journaling stuff. We're going to do some guided meditation, but this is just some questions to start rolling around in that big old head of yours. Am I on course? Am I on course? Am I speaking my truth? Am I a good listener? And am I a good space holder for others? Do I listen and trust my intuition and my inner voice, right? Because remember, Mercury rules all forms of communication and authenticity and truth, right? So what happens is during Mercury, communications get mixed up, right? Like you might text your friend like something totally nice and they're like, what the fuck did that mean? Right? Do you ever have like an email with someone and they're like, that was so rude, like the way you emailed me, and you're like, oh my God, I wasn't even being mean. I was just being like totally just truthful and honest. But the communication, the lines get crossed. Or someone takes your text message out of context, or you post something on Facebook and people are like, that was really rude, like what you wrote on Facebook today. And you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So people's perception of the communication that you're putting out there, it gets garbled, right? what's really going on with the thoughts in my head, right? Because we all have what I like to call the hypnotic loop that runs in our brains, right? We all have it. I don't care who you are. You could be the motherfucking Dalai Lama, but you're still going to have these thoughts in your head sometimes that it's like, who do you think you are doing that? You're not worth that much money to charge that. Who do you think you are, like, doing this? Like, these people don't really like you. Like, this job is too good for you, right? We all have, you'll never lose weight. You'll never like find your person, right? We all have these things in our head. And some of us believe them. They actually believe, like, the thoughts in my head are truth. And that's not true. So this is a really good time to go inward and say, like, are the thoughts that I'm having continuously in my mind supporting who I am and who I desire to be, or is it holding me back? Aubrey always says the itty bitty shitty committee, right? It's that little voice. It's like, meh, 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 meh. And you're just like, shut up, right? We all have it. Is it supporting you? It's not. I don't know about you, but I don't have a voice in my head that's like, oh my God, you are talented, fabulous, beautiful, amazing. Your ass is perfect. It doesn't look like a wad of chewed up bubble gum when you squeeze it together in those white pants. Like, I don't have those thoughts. Mine are like, why are you wearing that? People are gonna think you're fat. What's wrong with you? Do you have a booger hanging out of your nose? Does your breath smell? Like, that's the thoughts that run in my head. And I don't know about y'all, but I know people. I've been in the coaching industry for over 20 years. I've heard it all. We have more negative thoughts than positive, right? And again, is the voice that I'm hearing in my head, is it supporting me or is it hindering me? And if you know anything about tarot, and we have a thing starting tomorrow called Tarot Tuesday. Every Tuesday, Kim and I send you out a reading that's specifically for you guys in Ambitchious Academy. And if you know anything about tarot, like real tarot, not oracle cards, I'm talking about like the tarot. Mercury, the planet, is congruent with the magician in the tarot. And the magician in the tarot is this transformative card that when you pull it, it's telling you that you are the creatress of your reality. Whatever you think, more importantly right now, because of communication to Mercury, whatever you say is your reality. So if you say you can't, then you won't. If you say that you're not good enough, then you know what? You're setting yourself up for that reality. So be the magician during Mercury retrograde and say, okay, maybe I haven't been so fresh up until this point, but when you know better, you do better. So I know that I'm a powerful bitch and I can create my reality with my thoughts and my words. How are you going to do that? Go in deep during Mercury retrograde. This is an amazing time also to reinvent yourself, to reinvent your thoughts, to reinvent your words, and reinvent your life. So I don't know if you guys see on the Ambitchious Academy app, because some of you might just have gotten in there today. Maybe you haven't even gotten in there yet. But when people, I'm a wordsmith, and I watch what everybody says, and I hear clearly what everybody says. So if someone is saying things that are limiting and are keeping them small, I will call you to the carpet right on that app. I'll be like, girl, why are you saying that? Is that really helping you? Let's change the languaging, right? So take this time to catch yourself. So when you're saying something that's not supporting who you desire to be and who you know that you deserve to be, stop yourself. I do a little trick where, and my husband and I have like a pact where it's like, if one of us is talking shit about each other, we're going to call each other to the carpet and we're going to remind ourselves to erase. So like, let's just say like Matt will say like, oh my God, I feel like I'm never going to be able to accomplish this thing. I'll say to him, Matt, stop and say erase. And he says erase out loud. He'll say, okay, erase. So that kind of cuts the negative energy, brings it back. So it's not going out there into the ethers. And then I have him restructure his sentence. He could say like, you know, I'm having a really hard time right now, but I know that everything that is worth having isn't easy. And I'm working towards whatever that is, right? So I'm going to challenge you guys, no matter if you're here for Buddy Week or you're here for the long haul, I'm going to challenge you guys to really reinvent your words, okay? Kayla's saying, I just had the same talk with my team today. If you say you can't do it, then you're not going to do it, right? And my niece is a really amazing cheerleader. And she's always like, I'm afraid to do this. I don't know. I can't even do a fucking somersault. So I'm like totally talking out of my ass right now. Like I'm that girl, but she's like a flipper and she's a flyer. Like she can do all this crazy shit. And she goes, Auntie, I'm scared. Like if I do this, I'm going to hurt my neck. Like she kept saying it one time at a cheer competition. And I said, you say that again, bitch, you're going to fall and you're going to hurt yourself. And she was like, whatever. You know, she's 14 years old. I know what I was like when I was 14. She's actually a dream compared to what I was putting my mother through. And guess what? The girls threw her up and they freaking dropped her and she hurt her neck. And she was like, obviously she got the wind knocked out of her and she was like crying. And then she came up to me after and she was like, you were so right. I made that. She goes, I made that happen to myself. So obviously I'm talking to her about a 14-year-old young girl, but aren't we all just that little girl, just grown up? Right? So we have to realize that our thoughts create our reality and our words, because once it comes out of here and it comes out of this, forget about it. Kenny Harper, I don't know, what is your real name, Kenny? Like Kendall, and they call you Kenny, or is this your husband's Zoom? I would like to call you by your name. No, it's Jess. Oh, okay. Hi, Jess. Oh, Jess, hi. All right. So Jess is saying, I felt the pull to isolate and hone in on my thoughts and feelings. So this is spot on. Yes. Mercury is also the hermit. Mercury's energy is also the hermit. So if you're feeling pulled to hermit yourself, like follow that, but do not, my biggest thing with hermiting, and I'm an introvert, guys. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm like a big time introvert and I don't get energy from people. It drains my energy. So when I hang out with people, I have to like almost like take 3 days off from peopling. I don't know if anybody else is like that here. If you're an introvert, tell me. But don't disconnect from reality. Because what a lot of people have done for the last couple of years is they've like, I just can't even come out of this. Like Dawn was a really close friend of mine who had that really hard time. She's coming out of it now. But my biggest advice is just take time, little pockets throughout your day to go into that quiet place and be contemplative, right? Don't go like, I'm never going out of the house again for the rest of my life and I don't want to talk to anybody. Because that is a fear-based thing too. Right. I'm not saying that Dawn did that out of fear, but a lot of people, when they hermit, it's like a fear thing and they just don't know how to control their emotions. So once you know how to master your emotions, you won't have to do that all the time. Shannon's saying, yes, energy suckers. I find splice of home and chatting down. Yeah. I'm not into too much out. Yeah. Shutting down. I'm not into too much out. I'm really happy in my home. But as you guys know, like I talk about in Ambitchious, the 6 life makers and breakers, part of why I love being home is because I've created an environment of just like ease and peace and calm. If anyone's been to my home before, like everyone will come in, they're like, I don't want to leave. It's just so peaceful here. You know, I worked really hard on that. Kill is saying, oh, I totally hermit. My husband usually snaps me out of it. Yeah, my husband is like your husband. Like I'm the hermit and Matt's like, come on, let's go out and like see friends, you know? And then I go out, unless it's like, I mean, listen, I don't really hang out with any schmucks, so I can't really complain. But there are those times where you have to like go to like a networking event or like a party or whatever. And you're just like, why did I do that? You know? But Matt's more the one that's like, come on, let's go do things. And I'm like, why? It's just so nice here. Right? Like the food is good. The drinks are never ending. I got like 4 bathrooms. I can just piss and shit whenever I want. Like, this is great. But he's more like the extrovert. Sandra's saying the only time I like to go out is when I'm away on vacation to the ocean. Yeah, because the ocean grounds you. The ocean really grounds you. So, here we go. I gotta hydrate. So remember, Mercury is like a cosmic do-over. So Mercury gives you a second chance with everything in your life. It gives you a second chance with old relationships, old conversations, things that were lost in translation, like faulty communications, old projects, old love, old ideas, you name it. And I am going to warn you that when Mercury goes retrograde, this is when all like the people from your past will pop up and be like, hi, like they'll come into your Facebook inbox and they'll be like, hey, I haven't talked to you since the Reagan administration, but here I am. And you're like, no, right? Old boyfriends will come into your inbox. Friends that maybe you cut off a long time ago will be like, hey girl, I was just thinking about you. and you're like, no, thank you. So this is like a good time to be like, okay, why are these people coming up? What is the lesson in these? Like, you know, I call them the whack-a-moles, right? Like, you ever play whack-a-mole at the fair? It's like, they go like me, and you go, and you hit them on the head and they go back down again, like 3 more pop up. That's like what happens during Mercury retrograde, right? So just a little awareness that old faces will pop out of nowhere, and it will just give you this time to like kind of reflect and be like, okay, why did I stop talking to this person? Why is this person not in my life? Why is this person coming back in my life? Like, what is it trying to teach me? What is it trying to remind me? Anything with the prefix RE on everything, right? Like remind, remember, reinvent, rebrand, that's the Mercury retrograde energy. So the energies of Mercury retrograde also help you remember what is really important. So like peace and calm and being grounded and being mindful and being reflective and connected. And if you have these energies in your life, you are going to gain the most out of these Mercury and retrograde energies. And like I said before, earlier in our call today, Mercury rules all forms of communication. It rules logical thinking. It rules signs and signals and travel and networking and connections. So make sure, for example, like if you're traveling during Mercury retrograde, make sure that you give yourself like an extra hour, right? So like, say you have like an Uber come to pick you up to bring you to the airport. Don't wait till you're flying into the airport by the skin of your titties. Like, give yourself like ample time to like, there may be traffic, there could be an accident. Like, that's the kind of shit that will happen. So give yourself that time. Also, when you're seeing signs, right? Like if you see like numerology, if you see like, who sees like 444, 1111, repeating numbers all the time, right? Or you see like your dead grandmother's name on like a street sign, or, you know, just like any kind of synchronicities, don't be like, was that for me? Was that a sign? Don't wait for a signier sign, okay? Because everybody's always like, oh, well, I did see 444 72 times today, but I'm just waiting for another 444. I'm like, bitch, stop. like you're not gonna get a signier sign than this. So make sure that you're really aware and awake to all of those signals and signs. And like I said, travel and communication. So even like if you're drafting an email, make sure you reread the email before you send it and ask yourself, like, how will this other person take this? Like, for example, I don't know if anybody, this is like kind of off topic, but I was thinking about this. I was talking about Matt about this yesterday. Like, we as women, when we like write emails, we're always like, hey, could you maybe please, or I think that it would be best if, right? Do men write fucking emails like that? No, they're like, do this now, right? Like when my husband writes me a text, or when my husband writes me an email, or a man or whatever writes me an email, it's like very blunt, to the point. And I'm not like, what did he mean by that? That was kind of like off color, you know? I'm like, okay, my husband wants me to do this thing. But when we write emails, or even when we receive communication from other people, aren't we like, did she forget? Like, why did she write sincerely and not XOXO? Like we read into this bullshit too much, right? So make sure that anything you're sending out and anything that you're receiving, that you're double checking it, you're asking yourself how it's going to be received. And when you get triggered by someone's shit, ask yourself, is this me? Why am I being triggered by this? Because the person probably didn't even mean anything by it. They were probably just checking an email in between their baby shitting on them and they're like school calling again saying, hey, your kid has another COVID exposure, come pick them up. I'm like, you know, so like, let's be honest. Let me just go back to my chat for a second. Dawn says, good can come from it too. Oh, good can come from it too. I was able to really look at the relationships around me and cut cords and establish boundaries. Amen. And sometimes it's the only way to do that. Sometimes you have to like, be like, stop, and like totally retract yourself, and then start to just like feel it out. Like, I haven't talked to people in a month. Who's texting me and telling me every so often, hey girl, I know you're doing your hermit thing, but I still love you. You know, like Dawn and I would do that to each other like all the time. Like every couple months we would just like check in with like, hey, you still alive? I love you. I miss you. I miss you too. This is what's going on with Dylan. This is what's going on with Matt, you know, whatever. And then like, we wouldn't talk for a couple months, but I'm not like, oh my God, Dawn's not my friend anymore because she doesn't talk to me, or she doesn't love me. That's the thing, is like, when you really have a good relationship with someone, you can just like pick up where you left off. And there's no like weirdness, you know? Jess is saying, yes, numbers all the time, every day. You know, Google it. Say like, when I see the numbers 777, what does it mean? What is it trying to tell me? You know, there's people who just specialize in number signs, angel numbers, and like numerology. So I'm saying, I look at the clock at 5:23 every day, and that's what's Kyle's birthday. Isn't that so funny? Jacinta saying, well, that's the last four numbers of my cell is 4444. Damn, girl, who gave you that? The Verizon gods? Like, shit, I want my last four numbers of my fucking phone to be that. One time my cell phone was 666, the last three numbers. I was like, oh, maybe I should get a new one. This is giving me the butthole puckers. So here is what Mercury do nots, okay? Here are the do nots. And don't fucking ask me like, why? And can I just please? And no, these are the rules, bitch. I didn't make them, okay? No contract signing. Now, there are exceptions to the rules certain times, and I'm gonna talk about that in a second. But for example, like in Mercury retrograde, you're not gonna be like, you know what? I was sitting on the toilet this morning and I have this urge to go buy a house, and I'm going to go buy a house today and I'm going to sign a contract. No, you sicko. No, you can always postpone this shit until, I mean, it's Mercury retrograde, as longest it's in retrograde is 3 weeks. So you slow your roll and calm your tits. You're fine. Okay. No elective surgeries. So don't be like, you know what? I'm going to go get my titties done on the 16th. Like, no. So no Botox, no elective, and especially because, not to go off topic, but you know, I'm a weirdo. Venus is also going direct at the same time as Mercury goes, Venus is going retrograde at the same time as Mercury going retrograde, and Venus houses beauty. So anything that's like superficial beauty shit, like no Botox, no filler, no titties, no Brazilian butt lifts, no roast beef flap cutting situations, vaginal rejuvenation, whatever you sickos are into, okay? None of that. Your roast beef will be fine until February, okay? So just let it dangle and do its thing until Mercury goes direct, okay? Now, obviously, like I said, there's exceptions to the rules, because like if you get in a car accident and like you need surgery, you got to go get surgery. Like, you can't be like, wait a minute, my arm is hanging by a thread. Like, can you wait till Mercury goes direct to reattach that? No. Roast beef, it's delicious and nutritious. Dawn says, I have Dylan's IEP meeting and it is a complete shit show and I am so anxious about it. How do I sign an IEP during retrograde? Okay, great question. That's already been in the works, right? Because I know this thing's been going on with Dylan. You know, you've known about the IEP for couple weeks now, right? So that's one of the exceptions to the rules. Whenever you've laid groundwork before Mercury, it's okay to sign contracts. It's okay to do things that are already, the groundwork is laid. But you're not going to wake up on the first day that Mercury goes retrograde and go, I'm on an IEP meeting today and I want to sign this contract. Like, it's already been in the works. So that's an exception to the rule. It's a really great question. See, listen, when I'm on my calls every week, I want to entertain, I want to educate, and I want to empower. And with all the shit that's going on in the world, a punani joke every so often, it makes for light and fun. Okay. And if you don't like punani jokes, this is probably not the best place for you to be. Okay. All right. Oh my God. Just says Mercury retrograde also pushes things through. It does. And it's a really great thing that you just said, because it usually pushes things through at the bookends of Mercury retrograde. So the first part of Mercury retrograde can be a good push, and the last part of Mercury retrograde, right before it stations direct, is a good push. But usually in the middle is when it's kind of stale and stagnant energy. It's a really great comment, though. Thank you for saying that. John says, okay, I will refuse the last minute pre-meeting that they want. Yeah, you're in fucking control. You're in control, bitch. You are in control. Don't let anyone think that you are not in control. That's your baby. And you say what goes, right? Elaine says, how about getting out of a non-compete contract? Yeah, that's fine because you've already been trying to do this for a while, right, Elaine? Like, it's not like you're just like, today you woke up and you're like, I really think I need to get out of this NDA. I mean, sorry, non-compete. You know what I mean? It's already been in the works, so that's fine. And it's not like you're entering into anything new, so that's totally okay. No starting like new projects. I don't want you to wake up mid Mercury and be like, I've been a teacher for like 25 years and I'm gonna go work at the Foxy Lady for legs and eggs and I'm gonna like become a stripper, even though that sounds really fun. I mean, I did work there for a moment in my early 20s, let's be honest, but like, right, Jess, we all could need a little side hustle, girl, right? But you can exactly, Dawn, you can revisit old projects, but you can't like I'm going to do this thing this week. No, it's because there'll be so many problems with it down the road. It'll just be kiboshed. Only people that live in like Southern Massachusetts know what I'm even talking about, Foxy Lady. It's a gentleman's club. It's a gentleman's club. And I used to be a massage girl there. And I had a lotion on a belt when I had my bunny suit. Anybody want a massage? I'll sign you up. I'll post sometimes on the app, and I'll get my Lubriderm popping. Also, no building new relationships. It's not really, if you're like single, it's not really a good time to be like swiping left, swiping right, and like, giving random dudes hand jobs. It's just not a good time. You know what I mean? Unless you're a sicko and you want to do that. It's just too much work. I do have extra Lubriderm if you need it. Just let me know if you run out. And if you are going to travel, make sure you give like your backup to your backup to your backup. Okay. Like this is the time where like you get to the international part of the airport and you're like, fuck, I left my passport at home, or I left my freaking ID, or, like that's the shit that happens. It's like in Home Alone when they're running through the thing when Run Rudolph's, remember? Okay. That's the Mercury retrograde energy. Shit, I forgot my vibrator. Girl, don't do that. That's not good. That's not smart. Monique says, Dawn, you are in control, and anything that doesn't serve Dylan as far as services, fucking drop that month and refuse it. Your school should be bending over backwards to ensure the best interest of the kids. Let me know if you desire anything before you go to that meeting. Fuck yeah. See, this is what the community is all about in Ambitchious Academy. We are all here helping each other. It's not like we're an island unto ourselves, and everyone here has a forte and a specialization in something. And it's just beautiful because I don't know the first thing about an IEP meeting, or I mean, I'll love you and I'll support you, Dawn, but I'm like, I don't even, what does that stand for? Like I don't have a little kid. Dawn's saying, I'm really great with IEP, but he is out of the district and in placement. He is currently in questioning. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot, but it'll all work out. You know that you're protected. You're an amazing human and you're going to be fine. And we're all going to be here helping you through it. Don't gossip, because when you talk shit, it's going to come back and bite you in the asshole, right? I don't like gossip anyways. You know me. If I have something to fucking say to you, I'll say it to your face. But so I don't really talk shit. But just don't gossip, no judgment, no gossiping, right? No really making like super important decisions that could like change the trajectory of your life. No making concrete plans. You can't be like, this has to happen just like this. And if this doesn't happen just like this, I'm going to be pet. No. So like I said, no closing on homes, no starting a new job. Don't hire anyone new if you own a business. No expensive purchases. Like I said before, make sure that your like snail mail and your important documents and your pictures on your phone and all that shit are backed up. If you're faxing anything that's important, like call the place you're faxing being like, hey, I just sent a fax. Like, did it come through? Because that's the shit that gets messed up in Mercury and retrograde. And no jumping to conclusions and no fighting and bickering and arguing. Like during Mercury retrograde, I literally want to snap my husband's cock in half like a twig in the woods because he's so annoying. Because he's an earth sign, I'm an air sign. We always like bicker over stupid shit. And a little bicker, like that's usually cute, can turn into like a full-blown like World War III during Mercury retrograde, because people are just like the tensions are high. What can you do? How can you work with the energies of Mercury retrograde? This is a great time, like I said, to back up all your shit, back up your phone, back up your computer, back up your pictures. This is a great time to get really clear, cut, and concise on all forms of communication. So every text message, every email, every time you speak to somebody, like make sure it's clear cut, concise, and laser focused. This is actually, if you do travel, it's a great time to take time for yourself travel. Like it's not a great time to do business travel unless you really have to. It's a good time to like be like, deuces, I'm out. I'm going to go sun my buns and like relax and take this time to like rest and rejuvenate. Right. So if you are going to travel, it's a great time to travel. Just like I said, make sure that you know, spectacles, testicles, wallets, and watch. You know what I mean? Remember that shit. Again, like I said, make sure like when you get out of the Uber, your phone is in your pocket. Like it's not, or like, you know, your phone's not on top of your car and you're driving around downtown Boston with your iPhone. Like how many times have you done that? Right? Like you put your coffee on top of the car and you're just like, oh, I thought I had a coffee. And you're like, fuck, right? How many times that happened? If you're getting ready to get a new job, try to stall the process of onboarding into that new job. It's a really nice time to like reconnect with like old people in your life, like reach out to old family members that you haven't talked to in a while, reach out to like old buddies. I'm not talking about people that you cut out of your life because they were toxic. I'm talking about people like, oh, remember that friend so-and-so from that work? Like, God, what happened to us? We used to be so close. And like, just reach out to her and be like, hey girl, like, how are you? You know? Yes, Sandra, make sure that you hire the people before Friday, if possible. It's a great time too to like listen to like old music, to watch old movies, right? I love like 90s freaking like rap and slow jams, and I'll just like put that on in my house and like listen to it and be like, this is how we do it. Like it's a good time to be like in the old, like be like, listen to the shit you used to listen to when you were a kid. It's a good time for like inner child healing. On my app, on the part of the app that's Ambitchious Academy, if you go to meditations, there's an inner child healing meditation that I recorded for you guys. It's a great time to do inner child healing meditation. Amazing time. Amazing time. Organize, purge, get rid of shit, right? This is also a time to like find lost items. As you're purging and as you're getting rid of things, you're all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, that's that butt plug that I lost 7 years ago. Where was that? I missed it, you know, like you're going to find shit that you're like, where did this come from? You know? So the words are like reassess, revisit, redesign, redo, repeat, reinvent, revisit old hobbies. Like think of the shit you used to like to do when you were a little kid. Like I used to love to, and I'm sure I'm not the only person here, when my mom would like have friends over, I would be like, okay, everybody, it's time for my close-up. And I would like go get all of my mom's clothes and I would put on her shoes and I would like put like all this like blue eyeshadow on a red lipstick. And I would be like I'm like, I'm so weird, but I would be like on the fireplace and I'd be like, and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 Fosse. Like I would put on a whole freaking show for all my parents' friends, and my poor parents' friends were probably like, this bitch. But we can't do that anymore because I don't think Matt would like really, that would be entertaining for him. But like now I like go, okay, I'm going to go live. I'm going to do reels. I'm going to connect to my creativity that I lost when I was a child, right? So inner child healing, and revisiting what you used to do when you were a kid. And you're going to make this Mercury retrograde so freaking good. So freaking good. John says, okay, so this list kind of makes me look forward to retrograde. Yeah, everyone you says like, oh my God, Mercury retrograde, right? You always see this shit. Dude, it's up to you. You can say like, fuck Mercury retrograde, and it will be like a shit show. Or you can be like, you know, I love Mercury retrograde because it's time to slow down and like actually like use the energies for good, right? Monique saying I would make my brother do it too. Yeah, I would make my sister do it. I would like put like a shower cap on her and we would get like, you know, like a wooden spoon, one of the ones that my mom like didn't break over our asses because she used to beat the fuck out of us. So there was like 2 left in the drawer, and we would sing like New Kids on the Block and like Madonna. Like I remember being like a virgin, hey, and I was like 6. Why was my mother letting me do that? But it was fun. I didn't even know what I was saying. It was just, that's the shit we should be doing, right? Kim says, how about if you have no choice and you're starting a new job or you have a doctor's appointment scheduled? If you already have put this in motion, like if you're starting a new job during this time and you already like went and had the interview and did all this stuff, it's okay. It's if like in the middle of Mercury retrograde, you're like, I'm going to start a new no, you can't do that. You have to wait. So that's totally fine. Doctor's appointments are fine if it's not elective, meaning like, I'm going to go get like an ass lift. Like if it's like, hey, I have I'm having knee surgery because I can't walk. Like that's very different than being like, I need a tummy tuck because I have to look hot in Cancun at the foam party. I don't even know if they still have those, but those were fun back in the day. Spring break, baby, 1999. Like that's not like, that's elective, meaning there's no need for it, right? But if it's like a doctor's thing, yes, go for it. Kayla says, haha, I did that too. I always tell Steve I can't wait until Natalia's older. No, Natalie, sorry. Natalie's older, so I can do it with her. It's so fun. It's so freaking fun. Dude, those were the days, right? Like we would redo the whole New Kids on the Block choreography in my like living room with like my jean jacket with like all my buttons. It was the best. Kim says, does anyone else have a music video recorded at Hampton Beach? No, we didn't go to Hampton Beach, but I have it like from other places that are ghetto as well, that I'm sure I can dredge up. Kim says, my girlfriend Jeannie in a bottle baby. Oh my God, dude. Like, please don't ever come back though with the low slung jean. I've been seeing this is like a trend now. These kids are wearing like the low jean and I'm like, don't do it, girl. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. High-waisted jeans forever. High-waisted jeans forever. Okay. So remember how I was saying before that it's really important what sign that Mercury is in? Remember I was talking about that on the first part of our call. So every time that Mercury goes retrograde, it's in a sign. So it will start in a sign, it will leave in a sign, or sometimes it's just the same sign the whole entire time. So if it's in an earth sign, so if Mercury goes retrograde in an earth sign, which earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, this is a time during Mercury retrograde to be practical, to strictly adhere to timelines, to strictly adhere to budgets, and to watch any money issues closely. And especially when you're communicating prices and payments for goods and services that you're providing. And it's not a time to think outside the box, be loony, be crazy, and like be like, oh my God, yeah, I'm going to do this like brand new out of the box thing. It's not a time. So if you see like, okay, Mercury's going retrograde in Taurus or Virgo or Capricorn, that's not the time for that. If it's going, Mercury's going retrograde in an air sign, Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. I'm an Aquarius. So when it's going, and this Mercury is going retrograde in an air sign. So it's a time for a lot of discussion. So you know how you have like a discussion with someone and it's like almost like beating a dead horse and you're just like, okay, enough already. Like that is actually a time to have these discussions where you like nitpick every little thing so you don't miss any issues, problems that could arise. It's a time when you're making decisions to research like a motherfucker. Google is your BFF. Like you have to learn all of the different things and research. So for instance, like say you're going to buy a house and you're doing it during Mercury retrograde, hire like 3 people to come and assess your property, like to see if there's cracks in the foundation, if there's bats in the belfry, if there's like whatever the fuck, I don't know. Is that even a thing anymore? That's what you need to do. You have to really like research. And these are times for like very modern and very analytical solutions to any of your problems. So don't let emotionality take over. Don't be like, oh my God, I need my fainting chair. No, it's like, okay, what's happening here? Like come at it like a war strategist when you're trying to make a decision. No emotionality. If it's going retrograde in a water sign, which is Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, this is a time to really use your intuition, to really follow your gut, to really go with the flow, right? Water, and to use your emotional intelligence and to use your third eye, right? And last but not least, if Mercury is retrograding in a fire sign, which is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, this is a time to think big picture. This is a time to think outside the box, to be dramatic, right? To be creative, to be the visionary, and to be innovative when you're coming with solutions, okay? All right. Real quick, exceptions to the rules. Like I said, surgery is an emergency. And if you have to take a job, sign a contract, etc., like if you're just like, I have to do this, just know that you will have to go back after Mercury goes direct, and you'll probably have to reassess things. It's not going to be like your perfect solution. Back up to your backup, right? Back up to your backup to your backup. If things are already in motion, like I said before retrograde, it's okay. Or if you are revisiting something, like say like an old boss reaches out to you and says like, hey, I have this like really cool position I know you haven't worked here in a couple of years, but like, I think it would be really great for you and you're the first person that came to mind, then it's okay because you already have a relationship with this person. Does that make sense? You guys have already had this like fully established relationship. So that will be okay. And a lot of people will say to me, Katie, I was born in Mercury retrograde. The easiest way to find out is like you literally Google like your birth date. Like I was born February 18th, 1981. And I haven't even done this yet. So I shouldn't even be telling you this. I should probably do this after we get off our call tonight. Stop being a schlep. But you just say like, was Mercury retrograde on February 18th, 1981? And it will tell you no, yes. It'll tell you like what period it was, like if it was in a shadow, if it was just going direct. It's really cool. So just figure out like if you were born under a Mercury retrograde, and people will be like, oh my God, I was born in Mercury retrograde. Like, am I retrograded forever? Am I fucked? And I'm like, no, you're not fucked. Actually, it's really kind of a good thing because when you were born in retrograde is not going to affect you as much as it would than someone who wasn't born in a retrograde. And the people who were born in a retrograde actually are just like better emotionally. They just can handle their emotions better. This is what they say. I didn't make this up. I just did the research on it. So here is some kind of like a little journal meditation that I created for you. And remember, in Ambitchious Academy, like sometimes you get on and you're like, I can only stay for 30 minutes. Kim Fox, every day after, within 24 hours of our calls, no matter what they are, she will always post them in the Ambitchious Academy part of the app. So if you miss something, if you want to revisit, if you want to watch it again, no big deal. Kim is a ninja. She's like on it. So after we get off this call, my Zoom just records it and she will post it within 24 hours. So just know that it will be up. So if you miss anything, or you're like, I'm not in a good mindset tonight to journal, I want to do it on Wednesday when I have time, the video will be there in perpetuity on the Ambitchious Academy app that you can watch at any time. Okay, guys? So let me take a little sip of my water. How's everybody feeling? Like, is this like good information? Do you love it? Is there anybody have any questions? Feel free to type it in the chat and I'll come back and aw, thank you. I appreciate that. That makes me happy. Like this is a lot of research and it takes hours to do this kind of research and compile this kind of stuff. And a lot of the stuff I know already, but I just, if I'm going to show up and I'm going to educate you, I want to make sure that it is like on point. Okay. So when you do your journaling, what I like to do, and I'm going to share this on, oh, I'm lying to you. I already shared this. If you guys go on Ambitchious Academy in the app on Mighty Networks, you will see like earlier last week, I posted it's music for protection for Mercury retrograde. Did you guys see that? If not, I will find it and I'll pull it up to the top of the wall so you guys can listen. It's easy. What I would do is I would play that music while I was doing my journaling, because it's just going to get you into the right vibrational frequency. So the first question that you're going to journal about and ask yourself about, that's going to really help you, is this: what is my intention and intuition guiding me to do next on my ambitious journey? What is my intuition and intention guiding me to do next on my ambitious journey. So like if you get quiet and you really say to yourself, like, okay, if I desire to live life ambitiously and I desire to be the HBIC of my precious human life, if I get really quiet and I get really still and I go in and I talk to like, not my head, I speak to my heart and I speak to my third eye and I speak to my solar plexus, I speak to my gut, right? If you're being totally fucking honest with yourself, what would you really do? What would be the next step that would really help you go to that next level? Because so many of you are waiting for like permission. So many of you are waiting for someone to come save you. And I'm here to tell you, no one is coming. Okay. If we haven't got saved from 2020 till now, I don't think it's gonna happen. Unless I'm in the land of make-believe. So we have to be our own saviors. So if you got quiet, tell me, what would it be the next thing that your gut, your third eye, and your heart was leading you to do on the next leg of your ambitious journey? The next question is, are my thoughts, words, and actions supporting the HBIC that I desire to be? Are my thoughts, words, and actions supporting the HBIC that I desire to be? It's a really good question. Because remember, your thoughts, your words, and your deeds support and create the reality that you have. So if your thoughts are shit and your words are shit and the things that you do every day are just shit, you're probably not going to live a 1% ambitious life. Not to shit in your oatmeal, but it's kind of the truth. Okay. The next question here is, how can I use my voice in a more powerful way? How can I use my voice in a more powerful way? Remember how I was saying today, like, I'm not that I have a problem like telling people what's up, but there's a part of me that's like, I still want to be liked and loved. It's a fucking human, it's human nature. So like when I'm writing an email, I'm like, hey, could you like, maybe if you have time in your busy life and you have like a pubic hair of time for me, would you do this for me? No, it's like, hey, do this. That's it. Don't take it personal. So that's a way that I'm using my voice for more power. How can you use your voice in a more powerful way? The next question here is, how can I become more truthful and authentic with myself? Who gives a fuck about authenticity to other people when you're not even being truthful and authentic to your own self? And when you get truthful and authentic with your own self, then guess what? It's a law of the universe. Everyone else just views you as this authentic, truthful, trustworthy human, right? So how can I become more truthful and authentic to myself? The next question here is, where have I lacked in communication? And how can I make this better? Where have I lacked in communication? And how can I make this better? Right? Like I do a lot of one-on-one coaching in my Ambitchious mentorship. And I'll have a mentor, mentee say to me, oh, I got in this like huge fight with like my mother and it really upset me and it hurt me and I cried for days and blah, blah, blah. And then she'll tell me what the fight is about. And in my head as an outsider, I'm like, bitch, like this is your fault because you did not communicate clearly. And if you guys know, all of you here that are mentors and mentees, do I not tell a bitch what's up? Do I beat around the bush? Do I tickle your pickle for a nickel? No. I'm like, yo, this is actually your fault because you weren't communicating properly. So do that with yourself. How have I lacked in my communication skills? And how can I make this better? Because the better that you communicate with others, the better your life is going to be. Aubrey, no smoke and mirrors here. Honey, you know it, girl. What is it teaching you? So what is the lack of communication teaching you? What are the lessons? So you might say, you know, when I don't communicate my real true desires, I don't feel worthy, or I feel mediocre, or I feel not enough, or I feel unworthy, right? So What is my lack of communication teaching me? What are the lessons? Monique's saying, I love that question. It's such a good question. When do we ever like hold the mirror up to ourselves and be like, bitch? Right? It's like that Scooby-Doo meme. It's like, who's under this like shroud? Who's the biggest problem? And it's like the person looking back at himself. It's always you. It's never anybody else. And the last question is, what messages, signs, or signals have you been receiving and ignoring? Come on now. God is not going to give you a signier sign than sending you 444 300 times in a day when you're saying, like, 444 is my angel number. It's like my grandmother talking to me. Like the other day, Aubrey sent me a picture of this like beautiful orb near her grandmother's picture. And she was like, girl, is this a reflection or is this like an orb? And I was like, bitch, it's a motherfucking orb. That is your Grammy. What? Why even ask the question? Just be like, hey, boo, my grandmother comes to me all of the time. I will be in my house and I will just smell Ginate after bath splash just go across my nostrils. Do you guys know that smell? Do you remember when they used to like just pound it? But pow, 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 pow. Woo! I smell it all the time. I don't wear Ginate, right? Or you smell like shower to shower. Remember that, like that powder that they used to put in their butt cracks? Oh, I love taking a shower and putting shower at my butt crack and getting all little white like things in my underwear after. Makes me feel so fresh after I come out of the shower. That's how my grandmother talks to me. I have the clear sentience, right? I smell. I have an entity that lives at my studio, and his name is John, and he's this old man. He's a funny motherfucker, and he smokes a pipe. And every day that I'm in here, I'm like, John, enough. And it goes away. You don't need signing or signs. Stop, right? So I want you sometime this week, doesn't have to be tonight because I know it's getting late and I'm a baby grandma and it's like 8:30 and I'm like, this old lady's going to turn and put my Ginate up my butthole and just go to bed. So you might not have time to do this tonight, but sometime this week, or even when Mercury goes retrograde, do this work and put the music on and get quiet and have no distractions and breathe and let spirit talk to you. Let spirit speak through you, right? Monique says, I've noticed in my new role at work that I'm so blunt. I mean, kind, but blunt, and it's concise in emails. It feels so good, guys. It feels so good just to mean what you say and say what you mean. And not worry about how it's taken, because remember the 4 agreements. One of the 4 agreements is do not take anything personal, because it's not about you, it's about them. When people treat you or react to what you say in a certain way, it's their own triggered shit that is unhealed. And that's what we really are doing in Ambitchious Academy. It's about slowly peeling the onion and healing just a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time and a little bit at a time so that you can step into your power. Keel says, yes, I remember writing emails blunt and shutting my laptop and running away from it screaming. Now I'm like, yeah, like, bitch, I said what I said, right? You're like, go off. Like, who cares? And just because we're women doesn't mean that we shouldn't be just as blunt, if not more blunt than men, because for years we have been disempowered and our voices have been taken away from us from the toxic masculine and the patriarchy. And it's like, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And like, even with other women, like, I'm just going to be like, no, bitch, no, you're not, that's wrong. Or like, this relationship's not working for me. Or when you say this makes me feel a certain way. And I know it's my own shit and I'm working on that. But if you want to be my friend, can you just speak to me a little bit softer when whatever. It's all about communication. So whatever we desire, we have to tell people. And that's what Mercury retrograde is all about. No one's a mind reader, right? Like Kim and I, my online business manager, and I've known Kim for 15 years, right? When Kim and I talk, I'm not like, hi, Kim. I'm like, hi, can you do this for me? Like we get on a call and it's like, okay, Kim, like this is what I need from you. And she's like, okay, this is what I need from you. Great. Like I'm not like off the call with Kim and I'm like, Kim said something that really made my vagina hair ruffle in a weird way. Like, no, I'm like, no, we're doing business, right? This is not like beating around the damn bush. Karen says, what about moon water and crystals? So with Mercury retrograde, there's no such thing. So moon water and crystals, and we're gonna, it's so exciting because in Ambitchious Academy, we do our new moon rituals every month together. That's a whole call. And we do our full moon rituals and our sound healings and all that stuff, which is a whole call. So moon water is during full moon. You'd put your water out during the full moon and you charge your crystals and clean your crystals under the full moon. And the new moon is really about releasing. The new moon is really about setting the intentions for the next phase. And the full moon is really about like getting rid of like things that are like no longer serving you. And obviously we're going to get into that even deeper, but don't worry about making water or doing crystals or anything like that. This is really more of like an energy and how to work with the energies to make something that could be looked at as like not a fun time and make it work for you. But the only way we can make it work for us is if we know the energies around it, right? Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up Ambitchious Academy tonight? This was such a fun call. I loved doing the research for it. I loved like really streamlining everything. I hope that I inspired you to really use the energies of Mercury retrograde in the next couple of weeks. Do the journals, prompts, get your old lady planner out and get a red marker and be like, Mercury retrograde, right? Like really plan ahead. Dawn says, is it okay to write stuff and burn it during retrograde? Yeah, I mean, that's so when I'm writing things and burning it, I do it all the time. I do it all of the time. One really cool thing to do during Mercury retrograde, and so I come from a long line of like what we call in Portugal, like feitiçeiras. They're like the white witches. They're the healers, okay, of their villages, right? And my grandmother and great, they were all those healers. And one of the things that my grandmother always used to do during this time was she would burn what we call in Portugal, we call them loira. It's bay leaves. So you know, like a bay leaf that you like put in your soupish. So you get a bay leaf and you write things down that maybe like you're like working on or whatever, and light the bay leaf on fire. It's actually really good cleansing too. You can clean your house with it like energetically, but hold the bay leaf and let it burn, and then take the little piece of paper and burn the paper from the bay leaf fire. Does that make sense? Did I just like talk a bunch of shit? Bay leaves are good energy for Mercury retrograde. And bay leaves are just nice to burn. It's just like Palo Santo. It's just like sage or dragon's blood or anything like that. How do you know if you're a white witch? I mean, for me, it's in my DNA, it's in my lineage. But I think we all are white witches. If anyone is, and listen, I'm a good Catholic girl, so don't be coming at me like, yo, motherfucking devil worshiper, because I will literally like fart in your mouth. Okay. But remember, the word witch is a very ancient word, and it means the one who knows, the one who knows. So being a witch is just being like, I know shit. I know myself. I know my desires. I trust my gut. Right. So don't be like, Katie's on a broomstick and like, I'm, cutting myself in the woods and like, I'm sacrificing animals. Like that's not what I do. But for me, it's in my lineage, it's in my DNA. But I think everyone here is a little witchy, right? Because if you're here and you're listening to me fucking talk about crystals and shoving fucking bay leaves up your ass, then you're probably a little off. Okay. Just saying. But I think that, remember, like the witches of the witch hunt times, not to get off on a whole tangent, because I'm going to actually be teaching about how to heal your witch wound in Ambitchious Academy. It's a real thing, y'all. It's a real thing. And witches were not just in Salem, Massachusetts. Witches were in every ancient, any ancient like civilization from the dawn of time, right? But I really think that we're all a little witchy because we're healing ourselves. And the thing is about witchcraft is that you could literally go out in the woods and just like pick herbs and you were a witch. You could just have a beautiful connection with like animals and you were a witch. So, you know, we're not getting burned at the stake anymore. And we're not getting like, you know, tortured anymore, but we're being burned at the stake and we're tortured in a different way. I've had a lot of people over the years, and I've been doing this for over 20 years, that have come to me and be like, I don't want to do your program anymore because I'm a Christian and this is witchcraft. I'm like, if you study the Bible that I have, I don't know if it's the same Bible as y'all have, but the Bible that I have says, Jesus says, I want you to do everything I can do and more. That means heal yourself, heal other people, heal with your hands. Hildegard von Bingen, I don't know if you saw the music that I listen to on Sunday mornings. It's from the 11th century. And Hildegard von Bingen was one of the most incredible nuns in history. You know what she used to do? She would heal people. She would go in her garden and make poultices, and then she would take rocks and crystals and fucking put them all over them and put her hands on them and heal them. Come on now, right? So whatever you can do to heal what happened to you from childhood, what happened to you in past lives, if that's something that you believe in, is just called being a proactive bitch and being in total control of herself. That is what Ambitchious is all about. It's about being in total control of herself. And that means being in control of your healing and how you heal. And I'm very Hippocratean in my ways, where it's like, let thy food be thy medicine, let thy medicine be thy food. Like, I don't want you to give me a pill. I want to go out in my garden and I want to eat organic food that's grown from the earth. And I want to like let butterflies land on my fucking finger. And I want to like, you know, do weird shit like that. I don't want to take pills and do all this stuff that we have been brainwashed. Because guess what? And I'm going to leave you with this. Everything that you need. Okay. In the Bible, it says the kingdom of heaven is where? All you good little Catholics and Christians. Where's the kingdom of heaven? The kingdom of heaven is within me now. What the fuck do you crazy people think that means? That means that everything that you need to heal and to be the best you can be, it's already inside of you. But you're all looking outside of you for all this extemporaneous shit. And guess what? It's in here. It's in here. Right, Monique, spells are intentions. Why do you think that we call the word spelling? Because we're speaking. Dude, I could do a whole fucking dissertation on just like all the shit that we have been brainwashed to think. And part of Ambitchious Academy is unlearning what we thought we knew and then relearning the truth. And the truth is already in here, right? Kayla says, I happen to have the book of spells next to me. Oh, I have it all. Dude, I have it, all of it, because I am a lifelong learner. And when people step to me and they're like, you're not a Catholic because you work with crystals or you used angel cards or whatever. I'm like, I'm using Archangel Michael's energy. How is this the devil, right? Like, but this is called, I'm a fearful bitch. I'm a fearful bitch. And I want to make excuses for why I'm a mediocre motherfucker. No mediocre motherfuckers here. Okay. All right. Before I go any deeper into this fucking rabbit hole that I just fell into, I'm going to go to bed. All right. If you guys have any questions, inbox me. And seriously, live life ambitiously this week. We have such an amazing week of calls. It's going to be incredible. And really use this time for Mercury retrograde to figure out your shit. Okay. I love you guys. Have an amazing night. Don't forget to stay ambitious. Love you. Mwah. Sweet dreams, sugar tits.